Welcome to the HMO Property Show, by investors for investors. Brought to you by the HMO Property Co, Australia's leaders in impact investing. Investments made with the intention to generate a measurable, beneficial social or environmental impact alongside a positive financial return. Catch us weekly as we discuss all things cash flow positive property investing.
Hey there and welcome along to the HMO Property Show. I am your host Neil Gibb, and every Wednesday we are going to be bringing you a new podcast which is going to either entertain, educate, motivate or inspire you, no matter where you are in your property journey, to take the required steps forward so you can build wealth for yourself and generation wealth for your family too. I've had a very big focus on cash flow in my investment journey. I do believe cash flow is king, and because of that I'm going to be speaking to a lot of people who also use cash flow as a strategy. Don't get me wrong, capital growth is a very, very important part of your investment journey. However, you cannot eat capital growth. Cash flow is incredible because it comes in every single week or month and it continues to come back. So if you've got reoccurring bills that continue to pop up, that reoccurring cash flow that you can create from real estate really helps to take care of them bills, if you know what I mean. So I think it's important that I give you a little bit of a rundown about who I am and why I should be here talking to you about real estate and why I should be talking to you specifically about cash flow. So as I said, my name's Neil Gibb. I'm the CEO and owner of the HMO Property Co. And back in 2015, I was working offshore for Chevron. I didn't have much experience in investing in real estate. However, I had a lot of experience in helping other people generate wealth from real estate. And I had a lot of friends back in the UK who did really well from real estate, buying lots of properties, all of them cash flow positive. I had friends replacing their incomes and quitting the jobs and kind of living life on their terms in the 20s. But because I was an electrician, I didn't think I was the right person who should also create financial freedom from real estate. There was something holding me back, some self-belief that, I'm not supposed to have this sort of freedom, this sort of wealth. And it wasn't until I came to Australia that I was introduced to an education course, which was called I Love Real Estate, run by a lovely lady called Dimna Boholt. And from that first course that I joined, it was the first time anybody had ever stood on stage and said, this is how you as an individual can make profit from real estate. And Dimna's big focus is on cash flow positive properties, not negatively geared properties, and not negatively geared properties because sometimes they can hold you back if you don't buy the right ones. Same with any property, to be honest. But because of this, I stood there and I learned all about cash flow positive real estate from Dimna and also from another guy called Ian Ugarte, whose course I also joined. And that's where my investment journey really took off. Now, over the next 5 episodes, I'm going to tell you how you can use HMOs to generate enough cash flow to replace your job, or replace your income, not your job. If you replace your income, you can then leave your job, or you can replace your income and then you can have options to work less, work somewhere else, work for charity, raise your kids, stay home, pay your kids' school fees, buy a new car every year. In fact, in one of the episodes, I'm going to tell you how I paid $12,000 for my $100,000 Range Rover, and I've never paid anything more for it, and I still drive it today. But I'm going to break down the first 5 episodes for you. Today, it's going to be all about me and my journey into real estate and how I've got myself into the position I've got myself in today. Episode 2, I'm going to speak to Elizabeth Rutten, who's my finance specialist. She's been with me right from the very start of this journey, and it was really good getting her on the podcast and talking about the journey that we've been on together. In episode 3, I'm going to talk to Nitin Vashish, who is my asset protection and tax minimization guru. The man is next level intelligent and super, super smart. So it's an episode not to be missed. Episode 4, I'm going to be speaking to my beautiful wife about property management and how property management works in the HMO space. It's a little bit different to normal property management, so make sure you tune in for that one. And then in episode 5, I'm going to break down how, if you don't have enough money to buy a HMO now, how you can use manufactured growth strategies to build enough money, or chunk money, or doing chunk deals to then invest into HMOs so that you can create a passive income. Because doing renovations and doing developments is all good and well, but you need to constantly keep doing them, because once you make the money from there, you're either going to pay a tax on that, or you're either going to go out there and spend that. And once it's gone, which is why you need to invest in assets that constantly create cash flow to pay for them bills, to pay for them cars, to pay for them holidays every single year. And I learned all this from the likes of Dimpner and Ian and many other mentors I've had along the way. So I'll go back to 2016. I joined Ian's course. We put the lessons into action, and we changed our principal place of residence into our first HMO. And we took it from a property that would have only rented out for $420 to $430 a week to a property that was renting out for $850 a week. And at that time, the vacancy rate in Perth was over 7%. So there was lots of properties available on the market, and lots of properties that stayed vacant for 6 months while the prices dropped and dropped and dropped. Yet we brought a style of accommodation to the market that no one else was really doing apart from around universities. And we filled that property in 3 weeks. And we filled that property for double what we would have rented out for as a standard rental property. And that started our cash flow journey and we were making $15,000 a year of cash flow. Now, at the time, me and my wife were still working. So we then went out and we started getting other properties under control. We didn't buy all of them. We did what was called a rent-to-rent or a head lease strategy, where we took long-term leases on these properties. And we, let's say we approached the agent and we said, we want to rent this property from you for $450 a week. And then we'd rent the rooms out for $1,000, $1,200, $1,300 a week. We did that on quite a few properties. And we got ourselves into a position where we were earning over $100,000 a year in cash flow. And it got to the point where I actually walked away from my job in the oil and gas industry from one of the biggest oil and gas operators in Australia called Woodside Energy. And there's a lot of people who work for Woodside Energy who think it's a job for life. So to be able to walk out of a company of that stature from the salary that I was earning, and for how straightforward my job really was something that not a lot of people will get to experience. And I hope that you take the information from this podcast, and I hope it helps motivate and inspire you follow the same journey that I've done, because I am just the most normal bloke you will ever meet in your life. I love being with my friends. I love being with my wife. I love a beer on a weekend. And if I can get myself from the situation I was into the situation I'm into now, I truly believe that anybody can do it with the right strategy, the right knowledge, but more importantly, the most action. Because knowledge is not power. Execution of that knowledge is power. And this is why myself and my wife have become so quote unquote successful, what a lot of people say. It's because we're action takers. And I hope that this podcast inspires you to be an action taker too. So right now, we are, let me take a step back. So in 2019, we set up the HMO Property Co to help other investors invest in real estate, convert their existing properties into HMOs. We help people look on the market as a buyer's agent to then purchase HMOs as well. And then we got in the development space and we started doing new build HMOs too. And right now we own, co-own in joint ventures or syndicates and control with all the projects that we've going on. When they finish, we'll have over 120 rooms under management, and we'll be creating just over $300,000 a year of cash flow. So it all starts with creating that first deal, and that first deal is the springboard to the next deal, and then the next deal and the next deal, and then at one point you look back in your life and think, how the hell did I get here? And it all started with that one house, that first step, and that first small action. May that be listening to this podcast and then reaching out to me or my team, or reaching out to a real estate agent, or joining an education course. I hope that what we have achieved and what we continue to achieve, I hope that we can inspire you to achieve something very similar. Now, I'm going to tell you about the HMO Property Co because this is my, I absolutely love this thing. I love helping investors, and I love the results that we get as well. But there's three key pillars that the HMO Property Co is based upon. It's why we get the results that we get, and it's why so many people choose to work with us. And pillar one is here because we speak to a lot of investors who want to hit financial freedom as soon as possible. And because of this, our first pillar is cash flow and capital growth in the first deal. Now, this helps investors accelerate their journey to achieve their investment goals sooner rather than later. And, we bought some properties recently for some of our clients that have got over 25% growth in like 18 months. And, some of the growth that we are putting into these properties is manufactured growth, which is what we're going to talk about in episode 5. But we always try and buy properties that we can add value to through renovation, so that we're buying at a certain price, spending so much money on it, and then going back to the bank and trying to get some of that capital back out. Now, pillar 2 is here because a lot of investors want to invest in opportunities that create a win-win scenario. Now, because of this, our second pillar is impact investing, and I absolutely love this. Impact investing are the investments made with the intention to generate a measurable, beneficial, social or environmental impact alongside a financial return. I absolutely love that statement. It's everything that our business is about. It's everything that we are about. When I said this out to my team, they were all like, wow, that is powerful. So I'm going to say that again. They are the investments made with the intention to generate a measurable, beneficial, social or environmental impact alongside a financial return. And I'm going to show you how we do that. I'm going to explain it to you if you listen to the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, we might pull a slide up and we'll show you exactly how we do that. Now, pillar 3 is here because a lot of investors reach out to us and they don't have the time, knowledge or experience to actually go out there and execute this strategy, the HMO strategy. So because of this, the third pillar is the concierge service, and this is our full end-to-end service with my team doing all of the heavy lifting for you as the investor, which means that you can sit back and just collect your cash flow once the projects are finished. So because of that, we've got our business into a very, very good position. Right now, we have got just under 500 rooms under management in our property management business. We are constructing around 17 houses at the minute, which is around another 102 rooms. So we're currently, we're just under the 600 room mark. But at the start of the year, we set some pretty lofty goals because we started to see the demand that was out there in the market. And we started to see the amount of people that needed this style of housing. So we set a big goal at the start of the year. It's our big, hairy, audacious goal, which is called a BHAG. And we set a goal to create 10,000 rooms and supply them to the Perth market by 2031. Because in the future, we can see a world where everybody has access to housing. I mean, this housing in Australia, it should be a basic human right, shouldn't it? Everybody deserves to have a roof over their head. And since we started the business up in 2019, we've employed over 22 people. We've got a really good team. Everybody knows where we are going as a team. Everybody knows our vision, our mission, and our purpose. And everybody is just like driving this business forward and creating the best possible outcomes for our investors and clients, but also our tenants to rent these rooms. So you might be saying, Neil, what is a HMO? I've heard you talk about this HMO constantly in the HMO Property Co. Well, a HMO is a house of multiple occupancy. Essentially, it's a house that's rented room by room, where the tenant has exclusive access to a bedroom, but also has shared access to the common facilities. And this is very specific. The way we set these houses up is totally different to every other property manager that we spoke to that does this around universities. It's very similar to a rooming house or a lodging house. If you're listening to this and you're on the East Coast, you will call this a rooming house. But each state has a specific policy to support this style of accommodation. New South Wales call them new generation boarding houses. Queensland and Victoria call them rooming houses. In Western Australia, they're just houses. We can house up to 6 unrelated people in a dwelling without the need for a change of use. So you can leave these things as Class 1A buildings and put 6 unrelated people in these houses, and you've essentially got a HMO. But where we differ from everybody else is we have access to an insurance policy, and the insurance policy gives us full cover for rental income and against malicious damage and all these type of things. But we have to do safety upgrades to the property. So as a business, we ensure that every single property we are involved in, even if people bring us properties and they ask us to manage them for them, which we've stopped doing because a lot of people bring us really poor standard properties and will not bring them up to a good standard. And that's one of the values in our business, to supply quality accommodation. So we install fire safety upgrades into these properties so that all the fire alarms in the bedrooms are interconnected. So if a fire in bedroom 1 goes off, it activates the smoke alarms in all the bedrooms, and that means everybody can evacuate the house really early. So it's not a life-saving system, but it is an early warning system. And we call the HMO the missing middle of accommodation, of rental accommodation. So for years there's been a lot of talk about the missing middle of housing in Western Australia, because there's either a lot of single-storey 4x2 houses built all across the state, or there's apartments built, and then there's this missing middle of townhouses and villas and manor houses and HMOs. And HMO, when you think about the rental market, you've either got the private rental market, which is generally where all landlords operate. They buy anything from a 1x1 apartment right through to a 5 or a 6 bedroom house, and they generally rent that out to a family. On the other end of the spectrum, you've got social and affordable housing, which is provided by the government. But the problem we've got right now is there's something like 20,000 applicants on the social housing waiting list. And that's applicants. So that when you look into that and you break that down, there's over 33,000 people on the social housing waiting list. That means there's over a 2-year wait to get into social housing. And the government need 58,000 houses to keep up with the demand now. This is without going into the future. So the house and multiple occupancy fits smack bang in the middle of these two. It's just a huge gap that no one else has been filling for years. And honestly, we need to keep this a secret, guys, because the longer we can keep it a secret, the more we can supply to the market ourselves. But sooner or later, people are going to jump onto this. Everybody's looking at NDIS right now. I honestly believe NDIS is going to become one of the most saturated marketplaces in a short amount of time, because everybody's looking at it and nobody's looking at this, which is a good thing. The Western Australian market, it's in an absolute shambles, and we talk about social housing and them needing 58,000 houses to meet current and future demand. But this problem is too big for the government to fix. And when a problem is too big for the government to fix, this is a great opportunity for you as an investor to come along and support or provide a style of accommodation which we're not trying to compete with the government with social housing. We're trying to relieve the pressure from social housing, from the government. And, affordable accommodation never ever goes out of fashion. People always need access to affordable housing. Some of the stats we've got right now as I record this podcast in August, the vacancy rate in Western Australia is 1.1%. This new stats from the Australian Bureau of Statistics came out not long ago, which said there's over 2.3 million single or lone person households right across Australia. That means that's 25% of the population. A quarter of housing has only got one person in it. Yet we continue to build 2, 3, 4, 5 bedroom houses. And on average, we've got 2.3 people living in a house. We've currently got millions of empty bedrooms right across Australia. Now, I'm not asking you to open your house up and rent out your spare bedroom to a stranger. However, if you're struggling with your bills, it's an alternative option from you actually downsizing. Why not rent out a couple of your rooms, build a community in your house, and also make a bit of money in the meantime? There's also a really bad market fit from everything that's being developed right now. Now, let's think about the way the state and federal governments are instructing or giving councils and local shires density targets to increase the density within their local government catchment area. Now, this is all fine and dandy, but if somebody's developing a 1,000 square metre R40 block and they're putting 4 new dwellings on there, but all 4 of them dwellings is only putting 1 person in there as a rental, then we haven't really solved the problem, have we? We've increased the housing density, but not the population density. And the reason that density is needed so close to central hubs is because we need people in cafes, bars, all that type of stuff. And because we've got such a big urban sprawl in Western Australia, we're getting further and further and further and further out from the CBD. They're now trying to increase the density closer to the hubs. So within that 10 to 15k radius around the CBD, they really need high density living in there. Now, you can go out, like I say, and build a standard 4x2 double story on 250 square meters and rent it out for $500 or $600 a week. That's absolutely fantastic. There will always be a place for that in the market. However, if you think a little bit differently, you can create a style of accommodation into the market which is never going to go out of fashion, and I can absolutely guarantee you that this style of accommodation will never go out of fashion. I'll tell you why. Because we're going to be interviewing some of the smartest investors from England, America, Europe, who have been using co-living, HMO, room-by-room rentals to build wealth for years. And these guys are super sharp, and they're going to be telling us how and what we need to do to make sure our HMOs are future-proofed as well. And believe me, when I say people are going to come into this market, people are definitely going to come into this market, but the HMO Property Co is always going to be 2 steps ahead of them because we are constantly evolving and innovating as a company. Another thing that's going to hit the Perth market right now, we've got a skill shortage and we need migration coming into the country. I think there was something crazy like 54,000 job vacancies in Perth in Western Australia, and they were saying that we need around 60,000 skilled migrants. So of them 58,000 jobs that are on the market, they're not all skilled jobs, but they're saying they're going to need 60,000 skilled migrants to enter Western Australia to fill the jobs that are available now and the jobs that are going to become available as more and more work starts up. And right now, Perth is home to just over 2 million people, and this is forecast to grow to 2.9 million people by 2031. And 3.5 million by 2050. That's a big jump. Now, to keep up with this growth, we need to be building 40,000 dwellings per year in Perth, in Western Australia. 40,000 houses a year. So if you think you're going to saturate the market by building 1 or 2 HMOs, then good luck for you. I honestly do not think you're going to. There's another big demographic that is growing right now, and that is the over 55-year-old single female in housing stress. These are people that are couch surfing, sleeping in the cars, and I think a lot of them are not certain or not sure or did not know that this style of accommodation is available to them. So my wife, Joanna, she's very passionate about this. We've got some really big plans. Well, as you can tell, we've grown a pretty substantial business in such a short amount of time. But we are planning to get into transitional housing for domestic violence. We're also looking for specific over 55s housing. We've got some really big plans to try and tackle this. So keep an eye out, because where there's a problem to be solved, there's money to be made at the same time. And if you can make money, that means you can do more projects and affect more lives and provide more housing. So a lot of the money that we make from housing, from real estate, from our developments gets just rolled back into more property and more property and more property. Because we like making money, but we also like helping people as well. And if you're willing to risk that and invest in real estate, then you should be rewarded according to the risk that you are taking. Now, I'm coming back to impact investing because, these are the investments made with the intention to generate a measurable, beneficial social or environmental impact alongside a financial return. So how do they make a social or environmental impact? Well, we make a social impact because we are now getting 5 or 6 people in a house and we're building a community, which means that social isolation and loneliness will become a thing of the past inside a HMO. The house next door might have one person living in it. They might be too scared to go out the house because they're feeling lonely, they're feeling depressed, they're feeling down. This is another reason that I've decided to do work with the Happiness Co and with Armed for Life, because they are 2 incredible businesses that just making a huge difference in the world right now. So the Happiness Co are helping us with what we're calling housemate support. And housemate support can kind of reach out to us if they've got problems in the house or problems in their lives. And, we don't want our property managers to get bogged down with all of these things as well, because our property managers are also community managers. And I'm going to get to this soon, but we want to, free our property managers up to manage properties, to fill rooms and to keep them filled. But then if there's anybody struggling with mental health issues, then they can come to our happiness support program, or housemate support program, and there's preset videos there they can watch. And there's things like conflict resolution, how to approach someone in the house and have a good conversation with them. There's also information on that in the happiness support program. Keep calling the happiness support program, in the housemate support program, which can direct people to stuff like food bank, or if they need money, there's different things that we can help them and give them advice and direct them to people that can help them, because a lot of the time people just don't know what they're doing in the freeze and they don't do anything. So that's how we do our social impact, and our environmental impact on these things is pretty incredible too. So right now, with the new build HMOs that we're building, they are 7.5 star energy rating, and we've just done a deal right now with a solar and battery company. All of the new HMOs that roll out are going to have solar and battery power on them. We're going to remove the gas line from them so that they're only running on electric, and we want them to be running around 70 to 80% off grid right now. But with the future, when batteries improve and solar energy improves, we want to take these things 100% off grid, which will be an incredible achievement for the company. And then we'll come up with something else that we want to do better, because we constantly evolve and innovate. We constantly try to do things better and better and better. Now, anybody can go out there and build a 6-bedroom house. Don't get me wrong, there's no real IP there, is there? But there is 3 principles for a successful HMO, and that's great spaces, great design, and great management / great experience. You get them 3 things right and you'll have a happy house, and a happy house is a cash flow positive house. Don't forget, we're investing in these to solve a problem, but more importantly, we're investing in these to make money so that we can either live life on our terms or continue to invest into more opportunities and help more lives. So great design, obviously, with almost 600 tenants now. We know what works and what doesn't work. We know the size of the bedrooms, how to orientate the bedrooms, the furniture to install in them. Again, with sustainability, we are building these things at 7.5 stars, and we want to get them up to 8 and get them off grid. And our property managers are also our community managers, and we're putting a big focus this year on the communities that are inside these houses. How do we get them to engage more? How do we get them to do things better? How do we get them to spend more time together as a community? And it's already happening. We send a lot of questionnaires out to these tenants that rent these rooms from us, and the feedback is incredible. And we do a 6-week survey with every tenant that moves in to get some feedback from them again. And it's very rare that we don't get 5 stars for the service that we offer and the accommodation that we offer as well. Don't get me wrong, we don't always get it right. No one ever gets it right. No one's perfect. Sometimes we do slip up, and something could go wrong with someone moving into the house, for instance. They might not like a system that we have set up for them. But these things happen, and we believe that all feedback is good feedback, whether it's positive or negative, because as a business, we can take all this feedback and then refine the process, refine the system, and refine the service that we offer. So the profile of our tenants is, a lot of people say, who would live in a HMO, Neil? Tell me who lives in these things. And we've got everything from baristas at one end of the spectrum right through to doctors, nurses and engineers at the other end of the spectrum. And everything in between: interior designers, Uber drivers, delivery drivers, sparkies, fly-in, fly-out, bricklayers, builders, interior designers, reticulation installers, you name it, we've got them. Average age at the minute is between 20 and 35. But the actual age range of the people that live in these rooms is 18 to 74. It's just phenomenal. Like that, we've actually got a 73 and a 74-year-old living in the same house as a couple. And again, this is one of them kind of feel-good personal satisfaction stories, because the story behind that was absolutely incredible, and I might save that one for another day. All of our rooms are fully furnished. We've tested the market. We know what works. We've tried unfurnished versus furnished. We've tried no bed linen versus bed linen. We've tried this. We've tried that. We've really tested and tweaked constantly, and we feel like we've really found the sweet spot now. And that includes the specification of the house that we finished the houses to as well. If you've seen any of the photos that we've done for the properties that we've finished, really good standard and, nice, bright, spacious spaces with good modern furniture in good areas. And our average tenure right now is between 12 and 18 months, but we've had people in these rooms now for just over 4 years. Unfortunately, some people do find this as a default type of accommodation. Sorry, couldn't get my words out. And some people use this as a springboard. Some people might say for 12 or 18 months to set themselves up and then move on to something bigger and better. We've had people inside these houses get together, as in partner and partner. They sometimes go off and rent a couple's room. But my wife Joanna is going to go through a lot more of this in episode 4. And one more thing that we're incredibly proud of is in 2022 we won the award for innovation at the Reiwa Awards for Excellence. So if you see on the Facebook page, if you scroll through there's quite a few posts on there, but you'll see the team all standing there with their award, all big smiles and buzzing, and well-deserved team, absolutely well-deserved. These people, these property managers, the full team, just are relentless. They never stop. They're always looking at ways they can do things better, and myself and my wife give them full backing when they want to try something new and they want to bring something to the table. Like, we want them to bring these things up. We want them to be better. We want everybody that works for us to leave in the future a better person, and we want everybody that come and works for us to actually say that they loved working here. And I truly believe that every single one of our team members would say that. So like I say, the property management business is right now, as far as I know, we're the only property management service that offers what we offer in the areas that we offer. There is property management companies around the universities, obviously, but the way they set their agreements up and set their houses up are totally different to the way that we set our houses and agreements up. Again, sometimes you pay for what you get. Our property management fees are a little bit higher, but we've got the track record. We keep rooms filled. We know what the tenants want. We know what the clients want. We know how to make this thing work. The full business is being built from the ground up to service this need in the market. And here's the thing. A lot of people get into property investing to create wealth. And I'm hoping that you're starting to see the value in a HMO as an investment, because the paradox of negative gearing and investing in negative geared properties to save tax is that most people don't reach their investment goals because they followed a negatively geared model of investment. And 71% of investors only buy one property. And I think 71% of investors only buy one rental property because they buy it, and then they realise that it's not as good as everybody thought it was, because they're only getting $450 a week, or they're only getting $26,000 a year in rental income, but it's costing them $35,000 a year to run the property. Now, what we're seeing at the minute in the market, and it is August 2022, we're seeing the RBA lift the official cash rate, we're seeing interest rate rises, and there's a lot of investors that are having to put more and more money into that property to keep it afloat. On the flip side of that, the HMO investors are kind of sat back thinking, oh, damn it, I've lost $4,000 a year from my cash flow. Oh well, good job, I've still got another $24,000 a year coming in, because these interest rate rises are really starting to hurt. And look, if you are struggling with the interest rate rises and you're losing money, I really do feel for you, and this isn't a dig. I truly want everybody to do really well for themselves. I really do. And, you may have just come across the wrong person who really understood how to sell you an investment, negatively geared investment property. But if you tune into episode 3, like I say, I've got Nitin Vashesh from Nav Accounting on. Nitin he's been my accountant since 2016. He's also the CFO for my business. He's helped me save hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax. He's helped my clients set up all their trusts to buy their properties in. Very, very savvy guy, very, very good guy. Also a very, very busy guy because of all the work that we keep giving him. And the other thing about negatively geared properties is a lot of these people that try and sell negatively geared properties to you will lean heavily on the depreciation. So at tax time, you can claim the depreciation on the property, which generally takes the cash flow from a negative basis to a positive basis. But the thing about depreciation is it gets added to the capital base of the property itself. So that means if you hold a property for 10 years and you claim $10,000 a year in depreciation, that means you've essentially claimed $100,000 a year over that 10-year period. And if you come to sell the property in the future, the government will then take that $100,000 back off you because it's essentially a short-term loan. Now with a HMO, we don't need to claim depreciation to make these things work. The rental income from a HMO covers all bills, all outgoings, mortgage, absolutely everything. And when we talk cash flow at the HMO Property Co, we are talking net cash flow without the need for depreciation or tax variations, because negative gearing only works if you work. If you've got a negatively geared portfolio and you lose your job, you still need to top up the shortfall in that loan. So if your game or your aim in the game is to replace your income with cash flow from real estate, then you really need to have a good emphasis on cash flow from day one. And that is where I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave you with this. You cannot save your way to wealth. You need to invest in assets that appreciate in value and that create cash flow at the same time. That is the game, top and bottom. You need to invest in assets that go up in value and also create a passive income at the same time. And a good friend of mine, Mr. Calvin Coyles, told me this quote the other day, and I'm going to pass this on to you guys. If you put in some work now over the next 5 to 6 years, you can make the rest of your life the best of your life. Because right now, my life is totally different to what it was when I first started on this journey 5 or 6 years ago. I've got an incredible business. I've got an incredible network of friends. I've got some brilliant experiences, and it all started with one property. So if you're sat there now and you're frustrated or overwhelmed and you don't know how to get started, don't worry. I've been there myself. I've been there and I've done it, and I've got the t-shirt and I've got the battle scars to prove it. And you can get from where you are now to where you want to be, but you've got to set some goals. You've got to set some goals and you've got to take action. And I hope that this podcast episode and all the other podcast episodes that I record for you in the future help you get from where you are to where you need to be. So join us in episode 2 as we speak to the amazing Elizabeth Rutten, and we're going to be talking all things finance, lending, HMOs, all the sexy stuff. See ya.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you tune in the same time next week so you stay up to date with all the cash flow positive property updates.